Hello, good day everyone. This is your Sir Jom. I am making this video and this video will serve as a supplementary material that will allow us to continue with our discussion despite of the fact that we were not able to meet face to face in our regular meeting or regular schedule. What we will be doing in this video is that I will just continue our discussion or where we left off last meeting. Last meeting, I believe I am able to provide you some brief orientation as well as a brief introduction to the subject matter itself or ethics, no? And I have also introduced what ethics is in terms of where it came from. We have discussed the fact that ethics is not a standalone discipline. Rather, ethics is a field of study that came from a larger discipline that is called philosophy. Today, we will still continue with that line of thought. And if you can still recall, philosophy is actually an aggregate or a conglomerate of two Greek words. We have philo and sophia. Philo meaning love, sophia meaning wisdom. We combine them together. We end up having love of wisdom. No? And how do we love wisdom? It's by pursuing it. And we can pursue wisdom by asking questions. And that is exactly what we are doing in philosophy. No? Throughout human history, there have been a lot of questions posed. And if we are not to arrange it, it would be very difficult for us philosophy majors or philosophy enthusiasts to tackle all of them. No, so what philosophy did is that, philosophy categorized question into various nature, and that categorization later on became what is now called branches of philosophy. There are many of them. However, I'm just going to provide you three very major ones. First being metaphysics. This one, I believe, na introduced ko na last meeting. And then the second one, we have epistemology. And then we also have axiology. With regards with the metaphysics, I believe last meeting na-discuss ko na to. When we say metaphysics, this is a branch of philosophy that studies reality. So the very basic question in metaphysics is, what is the nature of reality? Now, I believe last meeting we were able to grapple with this very difficult notion of reality. Now, and hopefully, somehow, you were able to question your reality as well. Or whether you are actually real and what basis you have for thinking that you are real. No, kasi a lot of us, we assume that we are real only because of, let's say, faith, or let us say, convention, or because we got used to this living, thinking that this kind of living is what's actually real. So when you deal with those types of question or those types of problem, you're dealing with what is called metaphysics. But anyway, let us proceed to the next one. For the next one, we have epistemology. Now, when we say epistemology, what it does is that it studies the nature of knowledge. No? So in epistemology, we are no longer asking, what is the world or what is the world made of? Now, in epistemology, it inquires about the question, how did we know? No? What method did we utilize in order to come up with that conclusion or for us to arrive at that idea? No? What method did we utilize? Is that method good? Is that method valid? No? And what type of knowledge were we able to attain in that form of, or in that method of knowing? No? But the most basic one really is the question of what is knowledge? No? Ano nga ba yung knowledge? Now, in epistemology, knowledge is actually classically defined as JTB. Now, JTB, ano ba yung JTB? Now, the JTB stands for Justified True belief. Let's start with the idea of belief. So knowledge is a form of belief. What does that mean? When we say knowledge is a form of belief, that means to say knowledge is actually acquired already by the person. It does not float in the world. It does not float anywhere. Knowledge rests inside the minds of the people. Now, if an idea, if an information is out there, it is written in your books, it is there in lecture videos, there are so many informations outside. They are just information. They will only turn into knowledge once people start to accept it, once people start to read on it, once people starts to believe it, that's the time it becomes knowledge. However, that belief, it must also be true. That means to say you are able to verify whether your statement corresponds with the actual reality. And then after we have proven that it is true, you must be able to justify why. If someone were to ask you why, if someone were to ask you how did you know, you will be able to justify yourself. So it is a belief that is true and that you can justify these. So that's a question in epistemology. What is knowledge? Now, as what we did last meeting, last meeting we tried to discuss reality, and we did not provide an immediate definition of reality, given that there are so many complexities around it or surrounding it. Now, that is also the same thing when we talk about knowledge. So knowledge, meron din tayong mga problem in terms of its definition. Now, one of the problem manifests in what is called the broken clock hypothesis. The basic idea, basic question in broken clock hypothesis is that, can knowledge from a broken clock really be considered knowledge? Now, let me break that one for you just to make this one easier. Imagine, for example, that there is a broken clock, and this broken clock has its short hand in 6, and then the long hand is in 12. And it is broken, meaning to say it cannot move anymore. It does not function anymore. So even a broken clock can be correct twice a day. Diba? In the case of this broken clock, for example, this broken clock can be correct twice a day, during or when it's 6 a.m. and when it's 6 p.m. Okay? Now let us imagine, for example, that we are inside the classroom right now. And there is a broken clock installed inside a room. We don't know that it is broken, and it is striking in 6 o'clock. So there is that wall clock. We don't know that it is broken. And let me say, for example, that I am discussing in this classroom, and it happens to be 6 p.m. already. Now, let us say, nagdiscuss ako, it happens to be 6 p.m. And then while I'm discussing, someone from outside entered the classroom, tried to ask me, "Sir, what time is it?" Now, let us imagine, for example, that in the real world, it is really 6 p.m. But I do not know that. Now, what I did to respond is that I look at the broken clock. I did not know that it is broken, I looked at the broken clock, and then I saw it's 6, So I told the guy, it's 6 p.m. right now. Now, let's assess that. I said, it's 6 p.m. right now. Let us say I believe in that. It turns out to be true because in reality, it's really 6 p.m. And you are able to justify it because you used that broken clock. You say, if you were asked, how did you know? You can say, I look at the clock. Diba? What if you do that? Diba? You believe that it is 6 p.m. That is a belief that happens to be true, and you can justify yourself. Does that count as knowledge? Is that really knowledge? That is a question in epistemology. That's the question of the broken clock hypothesis. Okay, so as you can see, parang napapatanong tayo if enough na ba yung justified true belief as a criteria for what really consists knowledge. no? Yun lang ba talaga ang criteria para sa tinatawag nating knowledge? O may mga ibang bagay pa or may mga bagay na kailangan nating baguhin doon sa classical definition na meron tayo. Okay, so that is epistemology in a very quick manner. Now, so let us proceed to the next one. For the next one, we have axiology. Now, axiology is known as the study of value. No, so it inquires about the nature of value, and just to differentiate this with all the other branches. Basically, when we talk about metaphysics, it asks the question, ano ba yung nandyan? Epistemology asks the question, paano mo nasabi? Axiology asks the question, mahalaga ba yan? Or is that even valuable? No? If it has any value, what worth does it have? And how can we measure the value of something? What is the source of that value? So, yun nga, what does it mean to be valuable? Where is it rooted from? What kind of value does human beings possess? Those kind of questions fall under what we call axiology. Now, in the study of axiology, or in the study of value, there's this two concept. Now, we have the concept of internal value, and then we also have the concept of external value. Internal value refers to how much you need in order to build something. External value refers to how much will you sell a particular thing. Now, to make this one much more concrete for all of us, I will give you an example. So let us think, for example, of iPhone 13. Now, let us identify the value of an iPhone 13. Now, for the internal value, we have to ask the question, how much do I need in order to build an iPhone? Now, I actually did the research on this one. During the first release of iPhone 13, the amount needed in order to create an iPhone is 23,000 pesos. So, basically, ang ginawa dito is that kinanvas magkano yung presyo ng bawat parte at piyesa ng isang iPhone. So, basically, you have to or you have to total all of the costs for kung magkano ba yung screen, magkano ba yung battery, magkano ba yung memory card. I-total mo yung lahat-lahat plus labor cost. It will require you 23,000 pesos in order for us to just build an iPhone 13. Now, so yan yung internal value ng iPhone 13. Now, let us say, for example, I want to sell that iPhone 13. Now, the moment I want to sell that iPhone 13, that is already the external value. Am I going to sell the iPhone 13 in the same amount? 23,000 pesos pa rin ba kung ibebenta ko ngayon si iPhone? Most likely not, 'di ba? Kasi of course you want to profit from it, no? So if you want to sell that iPhone 13, what ends up happening is that pwedeng lumaki yung presyo ng external value. So yun yung internal value, yun yung external value. The higher the internal value, the higher the external value. So pag tumaas yung total ng IV or ng internal value, ganun din ang external value niya. Now, yung external value, ang daming pwedeng mag-influence ng pagtaas at baba ng presyo niya. For example, if I have an iPhone 13, I've been using it for a year already. Now, I'm planning to sell it second-hand. Of course, if I'm going to sell it, it will cost a lesser amount, no, compared to when I originally bought it. No? Whereas, for example, let us say I am Taylor Swift and I'm planning to sell my iPhone. Diba? Since I am Taylor Swift, the price of that iPhone will also increase because it carries with it the value that I possess as well, no, as a person, given that I am Taylor Swift. No, so there are so many factors surrounding external value. Now, imagine, for example, you yourself, try to assess your value, no? Do you consider yourself valuable? No? And if you are valuable, let's assess the kind of value you have. No? So for this, I want you guys to ask yourself this question. The question is, magkano ka? Or magkano ako? Diba? If I am valuable, no, if I am valuable, then that means, or that makes us ask the question, if I am valuable, how much valuable am I? Magkano ba ako? Can I name a price for myself? Diba? Try to do that to yourself. No, magkano kaya ako? If I were to sell myself, magkano kaya? And most likely, you will not be able to name a price. Diba? Not only because of ignorance, not only because of your incapacity to assess your own value, but because you yourself don't have a price in the first place, no? So you are valuable, but there's no price for you. That means to say you possess a value of a different kind. What kind of value do you possess? Why is it that an iPhone 13 can be measured? Why is it that you cannot be measured? No, bakit pwedeng bigyan ng presyo yung isang bagay, pero yung isang tao hindi pwedeng bigyan ng presyo? No, ano palang value ang meron sa'yo? At saka ano ba ibig sabihin nun? Okay, so that is one of the question surrounding axiology. And as you can see, that's not an easy problem to deal with. Okay, so hopefully we are clear already with that one. Now, axiology actually has two branches, or it has several branches falling under it. And dito na papasok yung subject natin or subject matter natin. No? Ang axiology, may dalawang sub-branches yan. We have aesthetics and ethics. Aesthetics studies the nature of beauty and art, whereas ethics studies the nature of the moral good. Okay, so aesthetics studies beauty and art. No, what makes something beautiful? What makes something an art? Now, if you are concerned with that, you are dealing with aesthetics. But that is not our concern. Our concern is that we are studying ethics. Now, what is it that we study in ethics? What we do is that we study the nature of the moral good. And this is very important. Why? Because knowing the nature of the moral good is necessary in order for you to consider yourself a wise person. No, you cannot call yourself wise without the knowledge of the good. According to Plato, the knowledge of the good is the highest form of knowledge. Or to reverse it, the highest form of knowledge is the knowledge of the good. That is according to Plato. Without the moral good, wisdom cannot be possible. No, so an example I have in mind actually is Robert Oppenheimer. Robert Oppenheimer, if you are familiar with the guy, is actually the inventor of atomic bomb. No, atomic bomb. And imagine making an atomic bomb. No, would that require knowledge? Yes, of course. You will not be able to create an atomic bomb if you are ignorant or you are stupid. It requires some level of intelligence and knowledge in order for you to build as grand as an atomic bomb. No, so we can say Robert Oppenheimer is knowledgeable. But then that knowledge, in the creation of atomic bomb, was that utilized for the good? But the atomic bomb, which is his own making, how is it utilized? Actually, that atomic bomb was then utilized in the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, leading to the death of thousands and hundreds of people. Some people died because of the immediate impact, whereas other people died because of the radiation afterwards or the aftermath of the event. Okay? So, Robert Oppenheimer may be knowledgeable, but it did not make him wise because he may possess knowledge, but he did not utilize that knowledge for the good. No, so if you truly want to pursue wisdom, you have to pursue ethics as well. Okay, that's the value of it. Okay, so hopefully that is clear for all of us. Let's now try to define what ethics is as a subject matter. What ethics is based on its etymology. Etymologically speaking, or ito na lang, sometimes when we use the word ethics, we interchange it with the word morality. Sometimes we use ethics, sometimes we use morality. No? Ano ba yung etymological definition nito nila? No? Ethics comes from the Greek word ethos, which means custom or manner of behaving. Morality comes from a Latin word mos or mores, which also means custom or manner of behaving. Now, so notice, both of them actually have the same definition. They are both custom or manner of behaving, or habit, in fact. Now, it's just that ethics comes from a Greek word, ethos, whereas morality comes from a Latin word, mos or mores. Okay? So, in terms of etymological definition, ethics and morality actually, they're quite similar. However, in terms of use, doon na sila nagkakaiba. Bakit? Kasi morality actually, in terms of how we utilize the term in our everyday life, morality refers to the set of values we have. No, and this set of values, they are present not only among individual people, they are also present in some of institutions we have, or some of the affiliations we belong to. For example, in religion, in our religion, there is morality in it. Diba? It is what we call Christian morality, or Islamic morality, for example. This refers to the moral compass that we have. No? So it's the practice of abiding towards various value, no, or moral compass. It becomes ethics once you study it, no? For example, you have a moral compass, you have a principle you intend to abide by, you intend to follow. The moment you question that, the moment you try to assess that, you are now doing ethics. No, because ethics is the study of the set of values. No, morality, that is what we practice. Ethics is the moment we practice, the moment we study what we are practicing, perhaps. No, so in terms of use, medyo magulo, medyo magkaiba yung definition nila. But in terms of etymology, ethics and morality both have the same root word, or I mean, both have the same meaning in terms of yung root word nila. Okay, so actually that is what we call the theoretical definition of ethics. However, a theoretical definition, as we all know, it's not enough. No, we also have to provide an operational definition or a working definition. No, how do we use the word ethics in our class? No, so ethics is actually defined as a field of study guiding one's conduct in doing whatever there are best reasons and giving equal weight to all that is involved in the situation. So again, ethics is a field of study. It is a discipline guiding our actions. That our actions should be guided by best reasons and should give equal weight to all people. This actually refers to the two minimum conception of ethics. We have rationality and impartiality. I just want to make clear sa lahat ng nakikinig dito that in ethics, I am not concerned with your decisions. I am not concerned with what you want to do in life. That's up to you. That's your personal life. No, what we are trying to enhance in ethics is your moral reasoning. No? Kahit ano pa yung gagawin mo, wala na akong pake dyan. Ang pake ko is paano mo i-defend, paano mo i-justify yung sarili mo. Diba? Your moral reasoning, that is what we intend to develop here in ethics. Now, how can we develop your moral reasoning? It's by promoting these two. That your reasoning should be, number one, rational, meaning to say it is based on clear evidences and solid principles. It's not based on feelings. It's not based on horoscopes. It's not based on kutub or gut feeling. No, you have strong reasons to support your decisions or your actions. Next, we have impartiality. Pag sinabi natin impartiality, that means to say you are giving equal weight to all people. That means to say you are unbiased, you are fair, and you are just. You do not take sides. You don't have favoritism. Diba? So, that's one of the minimum conception of ethics. That's one of the requirements for a valid moral reasoning. No? So, pag tinatanong ko kayo, ano yung dapat gawin, you can choose whatever so long as you are able to provide reasons that are both rational and impartial. That is our goal here in ethics. Now, there are actually several branches of ethics. There are three. Actually, marami pa to, but we limit ourselves to three. Number one, we have meta-ethics. This studies the foundation of morality. So, if you are concerned with the definition, you're concerned with the kind of problems you're dealing with, ethics, you're concerned with the roots of ethics, you are studying what we call meta-ethics. This, what we are doing right now, this is actually a kind of meta-ethics already. Number two, we have normative ethics. In normative ethics, what we are concerned with is in developing moral framework. So we are trying to develop theories and lenses to help us assess what is the right thing to do and what are the actions that we need to avoid. No, so that is the goal of normative ethics. To follow that, we have applied ethics. Applied ethics assesses practical social issues. So it's already in the term applied ethics. We are applying ethics into real practical social issues. Okay, so it's actually that simple. Now, why is ethics even important in the first place? Now, why do we have to study ethics? Okay, so we study ethics precisely because of this what we call ethical dilemma. Without ethical dilemma, there is no need for an ethics. Now, to make this one much clearer to us, what an ethical dilemma is, I will present to you this very well-known dilemma in the world of ethics. This dilemma is called the trolley problem, no? Imagine you are a trolley operator, no? You're a trolley operator and your job is to ensure that the trolley is heading to the right direction. Now let us say the trolley is heading its right direction, no? Pa straight lang. No? So dapat diyan lang talaga yung movement ng trolley, okay? So, every day, ganyan yung movement niya. However, when you look forwards, na-notice mo sa may bandang unahan that there are 5 people na nakagapos sa ground. Nakahiga sila, nakagapos sila, and they cannot move. And if we let the trolley run its natural course, what ends up happening is that these 5 people will die. Diba? The trolley will kill them. That's what will happen. Now, however, you also notice that you can actually save these 5 people. You can change the direction of the trolley. However, if you're going to change the direction of the trolley, you see that sa bandang unahan, may isang tao dyan na nakagapos din sa ground na hindi din nakaka-move or hindi siya makagalaw. No? So, na-stuck siya dyan. No? So, if we want to save 5 people, we will change the direction. However, that means to say, we deliberately decided that that one person should die. Now, the question is, what should you do? Should you let the trolley or should you change its direction? I tell you, this is not an easy decision to make. Either way, you will experience what we call moral failure. You will experience a form of regret. Now, what is the right thing to do in this situation? Now, if you assess that, for example, if A, what you do is you let the trolley run its natural course, what ends up happening is that you will not violate human rights, no? Hayaan lang natin yung trolley. Kung hayaan natin yung trolley, that means to say, hindi tayo magsasacrifice ng tao. Meaning to say, hindi ka nag-decide sino dapat yung mabuhay, sino dapat mamatay. No, kasi in reality, we have no right to decide who gets to live and who gets to die. Yung tao kanina, na nag-iisa, no, hindi siya kasali sa situation. Naging kasali lang siya magiging kasali lang siya kapag i-move mo yung trolley. No, dahil lang sa'yo. No, so, if hindi mo i-move, you will not violate human rights. But what ends up happening is that 5 people will die because of it. No, so on the brighter perspective, you will not violate human rights, but on the other hand, you will let 5 people die. Would you take that? The other one, you can change the direction of the trolley. You change the direction to save 5 people. Now, what will happen there is that on the bright side, you will be able to save 5 people. However, on the bad end, you will violate the human right of that one singular person. Because basically, you are saying that 5 is better than 1. Since you are alone, since you are the minority, your life is less valuable than theirs. since you are alone, then I can decide that you should die. No? Do we have that right to do? Or what is the right thing to do in this situation? This situation is what we call an ethical dilemma. What is an ethical dilemma? Ethical dilemma is a problem in which the moral agent is forced to choose between two or more options, all of which are bound to moral failure. So isa siyang klase ng problema kung saan ang tao ay kailangan pumili between different options. Now lahat ng options na yon ay either all of them are good or lahat ng options na yon are bad. No? So kahit anong mangyari, it will always lead to what we call moral failure. May masasacrifice at may masasacrifice ka talaga. No? So yan yung difficulty ng ethical dilemma. Now ang question kasi dito is pag may options, pag may pagpipilian, that means to say, yung both options na yun, meron silang good in them. There is a good reason for both option. Now, if you're going to select one option, that means to say, you will select one form of good and then sacrifice the other kind of good. Kanina, ang question is human rights versus pleasure. Which one is much more important? Pleasure of the majority or the rights of each and individual person? No, so ethical dilemma exists because there is a conflict of values. Now, there are actually three kinds of ethical dilemma. We have personal dilemma, we have organizational dilemma, and then we have structural dilemma. Personal dilemma is a kind of dilemma that affects the person. So yung conflict na namumuo nanggagaling sa loob ng isang tao. Organizational dilemma affects the group. So it involves the value of a person against the value of a group. And then structural dilemma, which affects the entire society or community. To make this one much clearer for all of us, I will give an example for each one of them. Let's talk, for example, for personal dilemma, let's talk about abortion. Let us say, for example, you grew up in a very religious community. Your parents are very religious. Everyone is really religious. You yourself, you grew up very religious. All your life, you dedicated towards it. You live by your religion and you're willing to die for your religion. No? That's something very valuable to you. And then, one day you got married and then you got pregnant. However, you experience what we call ectopic pregnancy. What is ectopic pregnancy? An ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy that is not growing in the right part of the uterus. Oftentimes, it happens in the fallopian tube. And so, that is a very delicate and very sensitive situation. Now, let us say you went to the doctor told you you have two options. The first option is abort the baby. You can abort the baby. If you abort the baby, then you will be able to save your life. No, basically, the pregnancy is very sensitive. That if you're going to pursue your pregnancy, the baby could live, but you will surely die. No, the baby could live, but you will surely die. You can pursue pregnancy for that, but you will sacrifice yourself at the end of the day. Or you could also abort the baby. If you abort the baby will die, but you will be alive. Now, let us say, for example, in your religion, it is really stated that there is no way to justify abortion. That if you must die pursuing your pregnancy, then so be it. But never commit abortion. In this situation, is it easy to decide? Or in this situation, is it easy to decide? Now, this is a conflict between your own life and your own religious faith. Your religious faith tells you, do not do it. But you yourself is telling, do it because you want to protect your life. This is an example of a personal dilemma as applicable to the topic of abortion. Now, this topic will become organizational the moment that you expand the scope of the situation. Now, let us say, for example, kasi hindi naman nakaka-relate yung mga lalaki doon sa selection na either pursue pregnancy or abort kasi hindi naman nakaka-pursue ng pregnancy ng lalaki, di ba? Nagiging organizational siya, kunwari kapag ganito yung nangyari. Let us say you are a father or you are a guy, you are in a hospital and then your wife is delivering your child. Now, while that is happening, the doctor went out and then the doctor wanted to see you and then asked you, one of them will die. Who should we save? Should we save the mother's life or should we save the baby's life? In that case, it's no longer just about you. It's about the entire family. And the family is an organization. It is a group. No? So, it is now a conflict between the lives of two people. Not just your life, but other lives as well. No? So, that's an example of what we call an organizational dilemma. Okay, so for the last one, we have structural dilemma. Ito sa structural dilemma, it's now talking about the structure of the entire society or community na, no? So, it's about the laws of the land. So, not everyone is gonna experience this. Most likely, ang makaka-experience lang talaga nito ay yung mga higher officials, politicians na meron tayo. So, basic example dito is when the government has to decide whether to legalize abortion or should we retain its illegal status. Now, that's a classic example of what we call structural dilemma. So, it's a conflict between autonomy and human dignity. So, basically, yun lang yun. And that is the nature of ethics or of moral philosophy, its definition, and the nature of its problem. Thank you very much. If you have a question, please write them down and just address it to me by next meeting if we meet face to face. So that would be all for this video. Thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, everyone.